Our first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be my brother's best man in his third wedding? My brother, 34 male, first got married about 4 years ago to the mother of his daughter. He asked me to be his best man and I happily said yes. I stood next to him, helped him day of the wedding, and of course, gave a best man speech. Everything was great and it was a nice day. Fast forward 6 months and they filed for divorce. Not more than a year later, he is engaged and planned on having another wedding. Again, he asked me to be his best man. Of course, I said yes, and did all the things a best man does. I was happy to help. He doesn't have a ton of friends, and he and I have always been close, so I told him I would be there for him. Fast forward another 6 months or so, and there were already rumblings. They were second-guessing things, and sure enough, ended up getting divorced, but not before having a child together. She was pregnant at the time of the wedding. So here we are, about 1.5 years since his last divorce, and wouldn't you know it, he is engaged to be married again. His fiancée is currently pregnant with his third child from 3 different women. His wedding is this weekend, and just last week, he asked me to be his best man for his third wedding in almost as many years. He asked me 2 weeks before the wedding. As a married man myself, I am having a hard time supporting someone who doesn't appreciate the sanctity of marriage and what it truly means to take that pledge to your partner. At this point, I am not sure if I will be standing by his side for his third wedding. Some of my family agrees with my apprehension, while others are mad at me for not supporting him on his wedding day. Am I the a-hole here? Now let's read the top comments. No a-holes here, but your brother seems to have marriage confused with dating. I wish I could upvote this more than once. No a-holes. That's how I feel about people who treat being engaged as a more serious version of dating. To me and my wife, an engagement is however long you need to plan your wedding. Getting engaged is saying, I want to marry you right now, but it takes time to plan stuff. I realize not everyone feels that way though. Married 3 times in 4 years? That's insane. I've had relationships longer than this entire time and didn't even get engaged. Not the a-hole. By the time my fiancé and I get married next year, we'll have been together for twice the time it's taken him to marry 3 times. This is mad. He clearly has an interesting definition of the word vow, given his spewing them out left, right, and center. Not the a-hole. The fact that you've only gotten 2 weeks' notice gives you an easy out, or it would have if you don't already discuss this with your family. But even flat out telling him that you're best man out and think that he should spend less time rushing to formalize things with the women he impregnates and more time thinking about what he's doing before he acts on impulse is uncalled for under the circumstances. Our second story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I refused to do a mother-son dance with my stepmother at my wedding? I'm a 27-year-old guy who will hopefully be getting married in the next 12 months, if, the global situation doesn't screw it up more. There's something I need to ask about here because it's become a serious point of contention between my dad and me. My mom died when I was 5 and he got married again when I was 10. My stepmother tried to mom me and I did not like it. A lot of it was my dad's fault. He was dating her for 2 years, but we, brother and me, didn't meet her until they were engaged and she moved in. 2 months later, they got married and she was still a stranger and expected to be mom. But nobody could ever be mom other than my mom. I don't really remember her, but I just know I was never on the market for mom number 2. It was my mom's biggest fear too, per the diaries she left me and my brother. So my dad trying to replace her was a dick move in my opinion. And my stepmother refusing to have a different kind of relationship was too. She would tell us she was mom of the house and was raising us, so she deserved that relationship. My brother has a somewhat better relationship with them today. My relationship with them is strained. So when my stepmother called and asked me about doing the mother-son dance at my wedding, I told her I wasn't doing one. Now she's upset and pissed and trying to change my mind. There is nobody alive I would do a mother-son dance with. My fiancé and I are going to do dance with our kids though, in place of the traditional parent-child dances at weddings. Would I be the a-hole if I don't do the dance? That's the story. Now let's read the top judgment of this post. Not the a-hole. This is your wedding. You get to decide your wedding. Your stepmother already had her wedding. Congratulations on your nuptials, and my sincere condolences on your loss. Thanks. This wedding has been a long time coming. I hope it can finally happen. 100% agree, and I love the idea of parent-child dances with your kids instead. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your wedding, your choice. And they shouldn't be pressuring you to change your mind. Not sure if this is an American custom, but I've not actually heard of the mother-son dance in the UK. Congratulations though, I hope the day goes without a hitch. It's something that happens occasionally. I have been to 2 weddings where there was one. The first wedding, it was a joint father-daughter, mother-son dance. Second one, father-daughter was first and then mother-son. Not everyone does them. Thanks. If it's only something that people do, then it might be worth saying that neither you or fiancé are doing parents' dance. Make it less personal about stepmom and maybe they'll be less offended. Good luck. It won't change anything, but it's not a bad idea otherwise. Let's jump to the next story. Am I the a-hole for having my husband out of the delivery room when he brought his mother instead of mine? This happened a few weeks ago when I delivered my son. We had an agreement before that my husband would be by my side during the delivery. When the moment comes, I suddenly had a change of mind and started to miss my mother, desperately, as if I would never see her again. I knew she had lessons that day but wanted her by my side, so I asked my husband to call and drive her here. When my husband came back maybe an hour later, he came back with his mother, not mine. He explained that my mother was in the middle of a lecture, and he was afraid that they could not make it in time before she sums it up, so he drove his own mother who lived near instead. I got angry and started wailing uncontrollably, crying for my mother like a child. The nurses ended up removing him, and I had no family beside me during the whole unpleasant process. I continued to cry even after seeing my son and only stopped when my mother finally arrived much later. According to her, my husband did not call her, instead left her a message and she only saw it after dismissal. Now thinking back, that was extremely embarrassing and I had no idea how I lost it like that. I feel sorry that he was not able to witness the process because of my last-minute change of mind. It was supposed to be just me and him, and he expressed his disappointment too. However, I am also angry that he did not bother to make an effort to let me see my mother when I felt I needed her, and instead took his chance to bring his own mother. I guess both of us feel betrayed to some extent, but which one of us is the a-hole? I want to know. Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole, hun. You were in labor. Of course your feelings are gonna be amplified. I would have reacted the same as you if my husband brought his mom instead of mine. Also, congratulations on your newborn. I would have reacted the same. The nurse wouldn't have needed to remove them. They would run when I started throwing things at them. Labor is such a effing vulnerable time. You do whatever you need to get through that moment, and his job was also to do whatever you, the person in pain, needed. He should be ashamed, not you. You did a great job welcoming your son into the world. Cuddle him and focus on the pure joy. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You were in labor and under a lot of stress. It sounds like he did the bare minimum to try to reach your mom. Also, you didn't directly make him leave. The nurse did, for the sake of your stress levels, which was reasonable. At that point, assuming there was now no longer time for him to go back for your mom and return in time, having your husband there would only make your stress levels worse because you were upset. Imagine being that nurse in that moment. The patient asks her husband to get her mom. He comes back with his mom, and the patient is obviously distressed. All I think is you had one job while throwing the guy out. Not the a-hole. Your husband is, though. Yeah, because mother-in-law is a great substitute for a lady who is asking for her mother going into childbirth. It's not like she needs the woman who raised her over the person who gained titled mother by law to be there. Not to mention, who would want their mother-in-law to see their privates? Ew. She should probably want to see the baby coming out. Now for the last story, would I be the a-hole if I told another woman to stop hitting on my husband? My husband has a best friend named George. I like him. We've spent a significant amount of time together, and he's a genuinely good guy. George met Ashley about 2 years ago, and they started dating. Since the very beginning, Ashley has flirted openly with my husband. It started small, complimenting him on his outfit or doing flirty "oh you" pats when he said something funny. That didn't bother me. My husband is attractive, cool. Within the last year, it's gotten unacceptable to me. She regularly messages him on Facebook asking him to bring our dog over for a play date with theirs, comments on all his Facebook pictures telling him how good he looks, and rushes to hug him every time we see them. This would be fine, but she blatantly ignores me. Here's where it gets iffy. George and Ashley got married 2 weeks ago. At their wedding, Ashley commented to a group of people, husband and I included, that I better give him some tonight because he looked good. Later that night, husband posted a cute photo we took from the wedding on his Facebook. 2 minutes later, Ashley commented on how good he looked. Husband has mentioned, without me prompting, that her comments make him uncomfortable, but he isn't going to say anything because George is his best friend. Would I be the a-hole if I said something to her next time she makes a comment like she did at their wedding? Side note, despite what it might seem, I'm not insecure in the slightest. I trust my husband 1000%, and I'm in no way worried he will act on her flirting. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but you will come off as the jealous wife. The reality is, your husband needs to be the one to put a stop to this. He needs to tell her that her comments creep him out. Edit. Just as a note, I went through this. My fiancé straight up asked the girl, "Why do you always ignore my fiancé?" He did this in public, in front of all our friends. He wasn't mean, just acted really curious, and it brought everyone's attention to her inappropriate behavior. It embarrassed the heck out of the woman, and she has since stopped not just ignoring me, but hitting on my fiancé. Hubby needs to tell George to tell her to knock it off. Hubby needs to tell the actual person to knock it off. Not the a-hole. But if you approach her, it will seem like insecurity talking. If she truly doesn't like you, she might revel in your discomfort and continue with her behavior. I highly suggest asking your husband to reconsider either talking to her about this or have your husband express both his and your concerns to George. Malicious or not, she's acting inappropriately. I feel sorry for all parties involved. True, you saying something may fuel her attention-seeking behavior. A gentle you would be the a-hole, because your conversation shouldn't be with her. It should be with your hubby. He needs to step up and let her know, in a friendly way, that if his wife were making such comments to someone else's husband, he'd be upset by it, and that he knows she means well, but it needs to stop. And that's the end of the video, folks. Leave your comments and don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Turn on your notification to get updated on the latest videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.